is up against who else? Nathan Finnegan, who still has not ended his charge. 25th to 13th. He's going to hold the inside, go defensive on Trangarade, but Trangarade is deeper into the corner. A little too deep? No, he keeps it from going off course with a big slide.
Brings it down. Whoa! Wants to break away again. Just playing footsie with that yellow line and able to hold on to it.
5, 6, 7, 7.5. That is about a second quicker. But Davis is coming through, and Davis is easily by. Kwok Ninh is not quite easily by. They're side by side, and now it's going to be a drag race as they come through. I lost sight of Kwok Ninh, and it seems that Kwok Ninh is going to try and lose sight of Davis as he's going to make the overtake here. He's got the inside down into turn 3, and he's through. 110 miles an hour up the hill. Now it looks like Newhook is going to back out of it. Still, even with the push, this is looking tough for Larson, and Day hangs it around the outside. That's not easy in Griffins.
No, it's not, and now they're going to come down into the cutting where Raymond Day will have the preferred line. They try to hold on to it there. This is where we saw Boucher spin earlier, able to keep it both back under him. They continue to be side by side up the hill.
Wow, this is tough stuff from both of them. Neither willing to give it up.
Into the wall goes Handsome Pete. It's down to 3 cars for the race win. Solo, Cope, and Campbell. Who will make the move first? Campbell makes the duck. Cope with the duck. The block. The dive. The second block. Thomas Cope to the inside. Will Campbell get a run back? To the checker flag. Thomas Cope wins the Daytona 500.
Waiting for that cone. This is gonna be close between the two, and I'm not sure who's it gonna be at the exit. They're gonna be side by side coming out of the pits. Daly chucking that car around the outside, trying to see if there's a little bit of speed, but Romig has it for now.
Oh, but they've got that run down the straight. If there was somebody watching a monitor for him, telling him what he can do, hey, try to pull that Loyola move, but he doesn't do it. He stays on the outside with a defensive move, pushing just a little bit too far. Got some tire smoke as they come off of Charlotte's Web, heading down that straightaway into the museum turn.
And it's going to be a drag race here in a battle of the late breakers between Romig and Daly. Daly diving onto the binders.
The Enduro at Okayama remained a toss-up, with drivers taking different strategies to find their way to the end. Similarly, today is something of a roll of the dice as to who gets the win. There's certainly skill involved, but this slipstream style of racing can frustrate just as much as it thrills. Let's see who comes away the winner as we get ready to watch round 9 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Monza will mark a full century of history this year, so to catch us up, let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Monza. This track has a major place in racing history, not just for the legendary races, names, and cars that have been here, but because it was the 3rd purpose-built car racing circuit in the world. It's often discussed and reverenced among fans, and especially by Italians who have nicknamed it the Temple of Speed. In fact, the Ferrari fans here are so famous for their devotion that they have been dubbed the Tifosi and never fail to show up in droves. while the real world offers only 3 feasible layouts to race on due to safety, in iRacing, the inclusion of the oval and the lack of safety concerns gives it a stunning 9 versions drivers can choose from. The modern GP layout is of course the most well-known, with its long history of hosting the Italian Grand Prix. But the oval and combined circuits allow those who thirst for more speed to satiate that craving with its insanely high banking. Indeed, incredible velocities are a staple of just about every version you can race here. Draft battles are not uncommon, no matter which car you're racing. But the inclusion of the chicanes makes using an outbraking maneuver a much more tricky way of overtaking. The circuit is notorious for drivers getting tangled up with each other while running side by side in these slow and cumbersome corners. In fact, one of the greatest dangers for drivers is the first few laps when the field is still clumped together and attempting to navigate them 2 and 3 wide. While there are other modern circuits with high-speed straights, the fact that Monza sits inside the Royal Park just north of Milan and is still tightly lined with trees heightens the sense of speed here. All in all, Monza is unmatched in its history, thrills, and great racing. Its significance in motorsports history and culture is sure to be unchallenged for years. Well, both in real life and here in the sim, Adam, this is one of those tracks that everybody knows could be anybody's game coming in.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. The Autodromo Nazionale Monza is one of the most interesting tracks for sure. And this layout, which is the Grand Prix with no chicane, takes out the Retifilia chicane and leads to a very interesting draft-prone race today. The Audis are going to struggle a little bit around here because of their natural push, especially the Curva Grande, which requires a little bit of brake or a lift depending on your setup. Especially through the first lap, they're going to have to be very careful to not push out wide and go into the gravel on the outside, which will absolutely take them into the outside wall. Everywhere else is going to be a little bit more of a struggle for the Nissans because of the high curbing, but they're going to feel really at home with the high speeds of this track, especially considering the fact that it was built towards an F1 preference. Now, as far as multi-class around here, you got to be really careful because the Audis in the draft are going to be able to go about as fast as the Nissan. So especially when we start going down the long first straightaway, it's going to be a real challenge for the Nissans to be able to get by cleanly, and especially with 54 cars out here today and a fairly even split when it comes to the classes. It's going to be a real challenge for everyone to stay out of each other's way today.
Yeah, no doubt. And, well, let's take a look at and see some of the protagonists that are trying to keep out of trouble. And in the prototypes, it is Iamaki who still leads, but things have tightened up because of the drop weeks. Anti-Lepisto only 5 behind. It is still Iamaki with the most wins. Anti-Lepisto still seeking that first one, but they can't seem to keep consistent. Heitor Sintes, Galindo, and Laust Olsen very close to one another there in 3rd and 4th, and then Fabian Jungbluth rounding out your top 5. However, very different story over in the GTOs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yuko Leskala leading the pack by 34 points. That means if he wins this race and the next, he will have sealed the championship before the last 2 rounds. So that's very dangerous. But look at second place, hotly contested between Escoleta Nimi and Vili Rolla. Rolla, his consistency and second place finishes have put him in position to possibly take second in the championship, and he could do it today if Esco has a bad day. Marco lays quite a ways back, 21 points back of Vili Rolla, and then Jamie Hamill-Smith another 10 points back of him. So look for those to be battling on track as well, trying to swap positions, Joe.
And for today's race, we had the endurance last time, but it's back to the sprint format, 40 minutes here for this event. It's open setup, and you got to think that everybody's going to be trimming those cars out as much as possible, and they don't have a spare car if they do find themselves getting some damage today. So even if they do have to take a trip down pit lane to get it repaired, it's basically going to be a difficult one because there's no pit stops expected. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents, disqualification at 25. We're getting the first few laps in, and interestingly, Laust Olsen on the provisional pole right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I expect everyone to have their machines trimmed out as much as possible, and Laust Olsen probably no exception either. There you see him going through Lesmo 1 and 2. This exit onto the Curva do Sorologio is very, very challenging, and it's really, really important to be racing down that back straightaway at a maximum speed. So the exit out of Lesmo 2 is extremely, extremely important to the success of your race and to the defense of any positions that you want to do. Ascari chicane, a challenge for everybody, a little bit easier for the Nissans than for the Audis, who are very slow through the center of that chicane. The Nissans should be able to go around the outside. That's onto the back straight and then the Parabolica. But Laust Olsen on his second lap, still a good flyer. Angelo Pisto only took one lap, unfortunately. Looks like he had an incident on his second, and so he will do no better than second. Laust Olsen maximizing every possible inch of the track. He's going to cross the line. Does he set a faster time? The answer is no.
But Iamaki went faster, 25.8. Unfortunately, that does not get him up a position. He stays in third. No shock that Yuko Leskala currently leads in the GTOs. It looks like he's just finished, actually, half a second over Andre Schumacher. In fact, he's been essentially dominating, I think, having taken every pole position so far this season in the GTO class. So Andre Schumacher, Yuko Leskala has been hard to beat on that front, although he has been beaten once or twice out on the track so far this season, but not enough times to really keep him from scampering away. As we now watch Andre Schumacher, who's having some connection issues, try to go quicker on his second lap. Let's see if he can at least get within touching distance of the two.
Yeah, a little bit early on the brakes there, heading into the Ascari chicane. So look at him running over those curbs, not necessarily maximizing his exit speed, but it's a decent line. So let's see whether or not he improves. My guess is he might not this lap around. Interestingly enough, I do not see Villarola here today, Joe. So even though we have the draft, if Yuko Leskala can nail some of those exits, he might be able to run away from the pack.
Yeah, and the traffic could also affect that as well. So we'll watch out for that as the 46 comes off, and it doesn't look like it is a good lap. Well, no, it is just barely quicker, but that is not going to be enough to get him up there. He improves by a couple hundredths.
And hold your horses, Joe. Phil Lake has joined the Audis this round. He's been swapping between the GTPs and the Audis, and he's now in 10th position at the moment as of his first lap. Let's see whether or not he can improve from there.
Still waiting on just a couple of our GTPs to set times. Jason Clapper and Massimiliano Pajano. Actually, no, Pajano just finished his lap, so looks like he is done. And let's see, Phil Lake up to 10th in his class on the first time around. Who else in those GTOs is still trying to finish? Looks like Leskala has come back out, but that one won't count, so that's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, Leskala is getting some practice in. This is a surprisingly technical track. You'd think with so few turns, it would be actually quite simple for these drivers. The answer is no. Because there's so few turns, you have to nail them all perfectly. Otherwise, you lose a lot of speed onto the straightaways. So here's Jason Clapper, who took quite a bit of that inside chicane, that inside curbing through Ascari. So very interesting line there. I wonder whether that's going to put him in a position to lose that lap or whether he's going to be okay. But to be honest with you, Joe, most of the Audis have finished their qualifying sessions, and a decent amount of them did not set qualifying times. So very interesting.
And both laps for Clapper not counting, as he must have had a problem, came back out, and that was counted as an out lap. Excuse me, as, well, somebody has an issue there through Ascari. And I think that's Eindhoven. Yeah, he's our last driver that was trying to set a time, but that is it for his chances. And that means our qualifying is done. So let's go through the starting order here today. Laust Olsen with another pole position. Not his first, but can he make it another win? Antti Lepisto is going to try and deny him. Has taken 3 wins so far this season. Arto Iamaki will be in third. Excuse me, reverse that. Iamaki's taken 3 wins. Lepisto still needs one. Ove Trangerade will start from 4th. Fabian Newbluth will be P5, and then it's Martin Krejcik in 6th. Xavier Sanchez coming off a win in the Lotus 49s at Pocono will start from 7th. It'll be Bert Olsen P8. Then the next row has Keefe to the inside and Grau to the outside. On the next slide, Heitor Sintes Galindo up in 11th. It'll be Robert Plumley starting from 12th and Stefan Leslie in 13th. Doug Cloud starts P14. Romain Belorghi in P15. To his outside, it'll be Javier Mosquera. Then it's Gianluca Gabbiani in 17th, Ben Lafter in 18th, and Emerson Gaudin 19th. Nim Cross Jr. joins us today in 20th. After that, you've got Randy Huff in the 21st spot. Cam Porter starts P22, followed by Kurt Clapper in 23rd. Ed Ray, P24 for him. After that, the next row begins with Fabian Jurascui in 25th, Mark Walker 26th, and Tamaz on 27th. Clapper, Pagano, Haley, and Arribas did not set times in the GTPs.
Absolutely, and now we have the GTOs. We are being spearheaded by Yuko Leskala. Andre Schumacher is going to line up in second today with Javier Del Olmo. A fantastic qualifying time for him in the third position. Escaleta Niemi lining up in fourth with Reed Miller rejoining us in the fifth position. Mr. Consistency sitting there in fifth for qualifying as he usually does. Hideki Koivisto bumped from that fifth today down to sixth with Franco Scurri in seventh position. Not the greatest qualifying for him this season. Jamie Hamill-Smith a little bit far back, now in eighth with Tomas Bartfai in the ninth position. Phil Lake couldn't do better than 10th because he wrecked out in his second qualifying lap with Nika Tupola in the 11th position. And Oren Laskin's going to line up in 12th with Anthony DiPaolo in 13th position. Then we got Luca Bracali in the 14th spot with Mark Ole in 15th. That's the last of your people who set qualifying times. Then we got Miguel Castro in 16th, Devin Donahue 17th, Pablo Rangel 18th position. 19th is Jack David Spickett with Marcus Rabarczyk is going to line up in the 20th spot. We got Christovi Rabatali in the 21st position, Jirki Lipamaki in 22nd, and 23rd, Cor Eindhoven. 23 Audis and 53 cars here today, Joe.
And before we get rolling, make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. As we get ready to get rolling, we do have two onboards today as well. Ben Laughter going to be giving us a view here today as the VR user is ready to go. And then, as we see often, it is going to be Laust Olsen joining us. I'm sure the pucker factor is going to be quite good today with this many cars at a slipstream track. Here we go. The Porsche pace car now coming around to the pit entry, and Laust Olsen will be given control, but it is usually a quick start. In fact, the green flag is already out, and he is on it. Away goes Olsen with a big jump over Lepisto. In fact, Iamaki might have a good shot at trying to challenge him. Remember, no Rettifilio chicane in this version, so they go straight into the Curva Grande with all the downforce underneath them. Who is going to be brave enough coming up into Della Rosa? So far, so good through most of the field. Not seeing any major offs amongst them. But what about the braking into what is now the first chicane? Nobody getting into one another next. Oh, I spoke too soon. It looks like Jungbluth and not sure who else. A bunch of other drivers have to go to the inside. Thankfully, it's not too terribly bad. Let's go down to the GTOs.
Nico Leskala got a great start. Javier Del Olmo has passed Andre Schumacher on the straightaway, now into the braking for the first chicane as well for the Audis. This is going to be where the real test is for the Audi drivers. A little bit of late brake lockup, but looks like nobody's made contact. Yes, we do have one turned around in the background. That's going to be, I believe, Mark Ole, who spun around, as well as Anthony DiPaolo. So that first chicane really causing problems for both classes.
Oof. Kind of expected that to be the case. It was Sanchez was the other one involved in that incident that spun around. He was hit by John Keefe. As we check on Laust Olsen up at the front, looks like Lepisto was able to hold back Iamaki. And lap one is done. And I'm not seeing anybody having taken a tow yet until Bracali in the GTO. So it looks like he has had to bring it into pit lane. So at least we took everybody to the first lap.
Xavier Sanchez and Ed Rie have taken a tow, as well as Fabian Jerichowski. So unfortunately, 3 GTPs taking tows after Ascari.
And Ove Trangere just blew by Martin Krejcik. So it looks like Ove has got the car trimmed out in the best way today. So we come down into the braking for Della Rosa once again. None of them able to go side by side, but behind them, Robert Plumley manages to get by Ben Laughter.
Absolutely, these GTPs are going to be hard-pressed to make all their passes before they hit the GTO traffic. These cars going so quickly right now, so intense. Absolutely insane to see these drivers, how quickly they're running right now. Looks like we've had another driver have an issue. I believe that was Mark Ole, who's taken to a tow. So he's had too much damage from that incident that happened in the De La Rosa chicane.
Yeah, a lot of cars involved with that one up there as we see the GTOs coming around a second time. So hopefully this one will be a little bit cleaner. Looks like Castro, I think, is the one that started that incident before. We'll try and check on that in a bit, but right now, Lescala trying to skip away like he wants to do. Del Olmo is the one chasing him, and Reed Miller sits in third.
Yeah, a little surprised to see Schumacher fall back so far. He's 8 tenths behind Reed Miller. So Reed doing a great job. He was racing yesterday. So was Yuko. But Del Olmo's the real surprise here in that second position. If he could cling to the back of Yuko Lescala for the duration of this race, he'd have an opportunity for the win on the last couple laps.
So let's see. Let's stick with this for a moment because they're going to come onto the main straight, and this is going to be important for Javier. Whether or not he can overtake Lescala, or if he's going to try and overtake him, there's not really an issue with fuel saving or anything here, but does he want to maybe save his stuff, save moves to lead until the end and just wait in the slipstream? Here's the answer. No, he wants to lead. He is going to go around Lescala.
But here comes Reed Miller with the head of steam. If he's not careful, it doesn't block off that outside. Reed could take it. Reed thinks better of it. They're just going to, Yuko's going to let the two of them go and slot in behind. Reed taking a shallow line into the Curva Grande. Not necessarily the best choice because it doesn't give you the best exit. You can see Reed gaining on exit here. He's going to try and outbrake Reed Miller? No, he thinks better of it and slots in back behind.
So top four together. That's Schumacher in there with them as well. A lot of curb to the inside. They do have four-wheel drive, but sometimes I'm amazed what these Audis can do with those sausage curbs.
Yeah, the Audis can absolutely clobber that inside curb the first time around through De La Roja. The second one, not so much. It creates a little bit too much wheel hop, which makes the exit impossible. But that first curb, they can absolutely clobber. Taking a look at the lead again, Laust Olsen with the fastest lap. And absolutely bringing a train of machines behind him. Angelo Pisto and Arctic Niumaki in line with Laust. They can get some draft, but Ove Trengerade, 1.5 seconds back, is going to be struggling to maintain the draft from that space back. Then John Keefe as well. But we got some passes going on further back of the field. Ben Lafter's lost 10th position to Aitor Sintes Galindo and to Farron Grau. And there you see very, very close racing as they head into the De La Rocha chicane again.
That's an absolute train of cars here through the field. A little bit of a poor exit from Sintes Galindo. Grau's going to try to get to the inside. No cover off and just slips in front of him. That sends him off and he gets tipped around, hit by another car. Gets turned back forward, and Sintes Galindo at least is a little bit out of the way compared to before. But that was a mess for a brief moment. He was sent for a spin cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Stefan Leslie who got hit. So Stefan really is trying to recover now and get going. And who's that tucked in behind Stefan?
I'm not sure, but yeah, he's off
Randy
pace now. Yeah, Leslie got hit, and looks like Ben Lafter got a piece of it. So unfortunately, multiple drivers finding themselves victim on that one. Puff back with his Mexican paint scheme on the car. And unfortunately not at a great pace as we see John Keefe, who is right now fighting with Krejcik. Let's see if Krejcik tries to pass him. And the answer is no. He's going to sit behind as they come up into Curva Grande. Could he be saving his stuff into De La Roja, or does he just actually want to sit here and let them ride? They're going to pass. Yeah, this is Tupola coming up.
Yeah, this is a bad place to catch an Audi because the Nissans can be a lot quicker through the chicane than the Audi can. And so you'll see, that's why you'll see John Keefe woe up there. Krejcik also woed up to make sure to make no contact, but close stuff there.
Speaking of Keefe in that chicane, why don't we take a look at the replay so we can show what happened there? Because Keefe is the one that kicks this off, getting into the back of Sanchez. And then unfortunately from there, it's just a whole bunch of cars that were kind of innocent victims on that one. As he comes through the Ascari chicane, still being chased by Krejcik. You can see how little downforce they have in the cars now as they were sliding through there. Here's the incident. So off of the start. And there is Sanchez is in the red and blue that you see in the middle of the screen. Keefe is in the silver and red that you see behind him. It's going to happen into De La Roja here. that Keefe, I think, just misjudges. I wouldn't put anything too big on Keefe. It's going to check up in here. He just unfortunately was the odd man standing out as it all slowed up and didn't anticipate.
Yeah, absolutely. So under the braking, just everything slows up a lot more. Honestly, whoa, so bad. When you get into a braking zone in a pack that size, you have to brake when the guy ahead of you does. Even though that's way earlier than you would normally brake, you have to do it because everyone ahead of you is going to slow up into that chicane. And so you're going to need to base your speed off of theirs. That might actually afford you a better exit. At the time, it's going to feel bad.
Indeed. Well, it'll feel worse if you're DNF'd. What's happened?
The lead of the GTOs has swapped hands. Reed Miller and Javier Del Olmo have been duking it out. Yuko Leskola has decided not to move forward, but you can see that pack of GTOs. And who is that trying to come through? That's Heitor Sintes Galindo on his recovery drive.
Don't need to go to it, but Randy Huff had a spin in De La Roja. He's trying to find an opening to get rolling once again. Bad day for him, for sure. As Heitor Sintes Galindo, again, no blue flags here for him because he's trying to get his lap back, and that's a good spot, frankly, to catch a lot of those cars, and now he is clear.
Yeah, and watch this as the Audis smoke up behind each other. Look at the draft, the power of the draft as they continue going. There you see Javier Del Olmo making a run. Yuko Leskola can't do anything with it because the road's blocked ahead. They're going to go side by side into the Curva Grande. Should be able to carry equal amounts of speed going through here.
They're still side by side. They're going to remain that way down into the braking. Yes, they are. Neither is willing to give way. This is going to slow them up a ton. And it looks like Miller's going to come out ahead. But Leskola says, thank you very much. I'll have that spot back.
And it was a complete accordion effect behind. Everyone banging bumpers as they tried to exit the De La Roja strongly. Now we see Franco Scurry getting bipped by Hideki Koivisto as everyone has a little bit of front and rear damage now in that pack. And here comes our leader, Laust Olsen, making contact with Koivisto. And that's Angelo Pisto who's going to get held up behind him.
Oof, and this could be important. If he had damage there, if Laust Olsen has severe damage, then we could find him slow in a straight line, and that is a death sentence here at this track. And already the pucker factor is getting pretty high, as you can see him try to find his way through the lead GTOs.
Yeah, and actually Yuko took the lead going into the braking point for Ascari from Reed Miller. That's a real dangerous braking zone, so it just shows his excellence as we see those top two in the GTPs trying to duke it out. Look at how tight it's going to get through the Curva Parabolica here. The Parabolica is such a dangerous place to be passed. Arno Yamaki now stuck in behind Andre Schumacher. He finally gets clear, but that definitely broke up that fight. What didn't break up is the fight for the lead in the GTOs. Reed Miller still right on the tail of Yuko Leskola, and he's going to be trying to make a move as the GTPs come through.
Miller gets a great run, but he's got to remember there are GTPs that want to get by, and they're basically blocking the whole track. This holds them up big time. Oh, and now they want the inside coming to the side of Leskola. That's Ove Trangerade and John Keefe being held up massively here, and I think Krajcik trying to follow in behind.
And here comes Del Olmo trying to take advantage of that position and trying to take that away from Yuko Leskola. Can't quite do so through the chicane. These GTPs are absolutely being held up by the GTOs right now. Krajcik finally gets his way through, and that holds Reed Miller up into the braking for the first Lesmo.
You know, usually they tell the GTOs to hold their line so that they don't accidentally get in the way. I almost feel like in that case, they probably should have squeezed off to the left a little more because they just completely blocked the path of the prototypes. But the battle carries on, and still this has remained intensely tight here at the top of the Audis.
I mean, as a GTO driver, if you're battling for the lead, I'm just going to say this. Not my problem, man. You guys have to find your way by.
So coming out of Ascari, Miller still leads Leskola. Del Olmo looks like he loses a little bit of ground. They got another one coming through. Looks like Bert Olsen going to be the next one to try and find a spot. Goes down to the inside, still has two more to pass as he wedges himself between Leskola and Del Olmo. Goes long around the outside, and now he's going to be clear. And another attempt here for Yuko Leskola, who once again gets a big toe.
Yeah, Yuko's not necessarily intent on making this pass right here, but let's see whether or not he does pull out. He is going to pull out, so this is going to block up Ben Laffer, who's going to come up behind and catch them in the Curva Grande. Side-by-side little side drafting there from Reed Miller, and Yuko Leskola trying to get the most out of this turn and can do so, and Reed Miller's going to have to slot in behind.
Down into the corner. There goes Ben Laughter, running 10th right now today after starting this race in 18th. Nice gain from him. And that's Mascara in the pink car. You can see trying to just weave through them, temporarily halt the fight between Reed Miller and Del Olmo. Now through the Lesmos. Once again, looking like there's just so many cars out here. These GTPs still having to pick their way by, and at some point this might just be a conveyor belt of non-stop traffic.
That's absolutely what it's going to feel like for these drivers for sure, as Andre Schumacher and Phil Lake are nose to tail. Phil Lake's going to try and take the inside from Andre Schumacher into Ascari. Breaking point, can't quite do so. As you see, wow, that was a late move from Emerson Gaudin to make it past Escalette and Niemi on the exit. Everyone going a little bit wide off the exit of Ascari that time around. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to do it, all this battling while also trying to pay attention to the traffic. Such a challenge around here. And then add to that the Audi gearbox for these Audi drivers. This is a real sweaty race.
Yeah, you mentioned there was a checkup out of De La Rosa once. I kind of wondered if that's what caused that one, as somebody tried to get it in gear and get rolling. But look at this, side by side, once again, down into the Curva Grande. And that is Bert Olsen and Ferdinand Grau down into De La Rosa. Ferrin comes out ahead. That's 8th place for him with that move.
Absolutely. And Reed Miller actually got a little bit caught up with Emerson Gaudin, so that backed him off of Yuko Leskala for the lead of the Audis. So the Audi lead a little bit secure right now in the hands of Yuko Leskala, so we continue to watch these battles in the GTPs.
Down as they fly towards Ascari. Somebody's backwards in the GTOs. Is that Scurry?
Yes, that is. Franco Scurry has to take a tow.
Oh, no.
That's a lot of damage for Franco.
And
this was a car, we have to take a look at this. This was a car re-entering the track.
It was Koivisto. And amazingly, Gabbiani avoided it, and I think Hamill Smith just got a piece of it.
What?
Yeah. Oh, well, he's trying to come back on. And
But he crossed all the way across to the right side of the track.
Yeah, that was a little clumsy. Definitely, I would put that on the car re-entering. That's Koivisto. Well, he got some help going off, though, but yeah, didn't make the best of the situation. Maybe just did not anticipate the car coming up, was trying to get back to the racing line, and that sent the Italian off. And Hamill Smith must have got more damage than I thought, because he is now stopped at the side of the road as well. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened to him.
And we just saw just ahead of this contact between Christian Arribas and Massimiliano Pagano right there. That was really a late dive from Arribas that forced Massimiliano off.
And I think that was for position. Yeah, that was a bit of a rough one, and Arribas did get on the radio apologizing just now. And there you see, that's Arribas in the yellow and blue. Pagano, however, just made side-to-side contact with Koivisto just now, and that was on a straightaway. That was strange.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of lapse of concentration from some of these drivers right now as we take a look at that driver who is trying to recover from that contact that was made. Probably a little hot under the collar right now from all that contact. We have two Audis off right now. That's so Jamie Hamill-Smith had his problem. Christophe Robitale is currently parked on the side of the road trying to recover. This is after Ascari.
And this was his own doing. Don't think we need a replay of this one. Just kind of spun it out of Ascari and came to a halt. Did give a bit of a scary moment. Oh, wait, who did he collect there? DePaulo. So he did get one other car involved. So the 38 also, unfortunately, is on screen. We see a battle here in the GTPs as we fly through the De La Rosa chicane. This is Robert Plumley and Martin Kretrick trying to chase down John Keefe, who still sits within the top 5. John, despite being involved in an incident in the very first lap, has been managing the rest of the race quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. John Keefe doing a good job of making that recovery drive for sure. As we're going to have to pass for second place in the Audis right now. Javier Del Olmo coming up the inside of Reed Miller on the front straightaway, as those two try and do some tandem drafting to get themselves back up to Yuko Leskala, who's taken advantage of this traffic and started to run away.
And I'm starting to think they'll really actually need that to catch him, unless they get the hope of traffic slowing him down. They get back into the racing line, down through Della Rosa, flying over our camera. And also, it's not just this one that is close for second place. The GTPs are split by about 0.3 of a second. And again, championship implications on this one. That's Lepisto in the blue and Iamaki in the orange. The Iamaki is the lead car in the points, but not by much. Lepisto is chasing and is still looking for his first win of 2022.
And they've got an absolute gaggle that they're approaching right now of GTPs and GTOs, their own class and the other classes. And they're going to have to navigate this as quickly as possible. So whoever navigates this best will have a good opportunity to run away from the other driver should they cut through this. You see Laust Olsen just up ahead of them, really struggling with this Audi traffic.
Yeah, but he's pushing hard because he knows that if he gets held up, both of these guys are there to try and pick up the pieces. And in fact, Iamaki got a great run on Lepisto coming down into Ascari and decides to lift a little early as he's setting himself up because there's more traffic, except it's within the GTPs. It's Jevon Haley in front of them, who's also got some connection problems, and he tries to set it up, but Iamaki finds the road blocked.
Yeah, finds the road blocked by a car reappearing on track, so a real frustration for Ardo. But now the three leaders of the GTPs nose the tail as they come back towards our start-finish line through the Parabolica.
Laust, one of our onboards yet again today. He's taken his first win so far this season. His only win so far in the Kamel GT series. He wants to make it a second one now. And they're able to go easily by some more of our GTOs, just Rangel and Castro staying to the left-hand side. Still the slipstream not enough to bring in the two fins on the Scandinavian. And breaking into Della Rosa, they're going to stay in order. Olsen, Lepisto, Iamaki.
That might have been a little bit too much of a cut from Lepisto. I wonder whether he'll go slow down. It doesn't look like it. But Iamaki backing off a little bit right now. I think he's just trying to let everything breathe a little bit as he just lost that opportunity coming out of Ascari last time.
Well, this has gone about how we expected, which is to say that the race is already halfway over. We've had a lot of fun going on out there. Let's take a look at Ben Lafter, though, since we haven't checked on him in a while. Sits in 11th, and he's sandwiched between Jungbluth, who was involved in that opening wreck, and Mosquera back in 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mosquera trying to move his way forward. Jungbluth trying to do his recovery drive. So there we see the VR driver of Ben Lafter as he's taking his I like what's on his wall back there. That's pretty nice. But yeah, Ben Lafter absolutely trying to move forward. It's so challenging to get these corners right, especially with such a trimmed out GTP machine. Does not quite have the downforce that you would expect. There you see him getting that shifter going.
Trying to figure out, is it hubcaps and I think a broken skateboard? Is that what we're seeing?
I think so.
Nice. As a fellow skateboarder, I approve. I have mine as wall decorations as well, the ones that have seen their life run through. But in the meantime, trying to run through the traffic and catch up to Jungbluth. Ben Lafter goes by David Spickett, and somebody else is in pit lane. Plumley. Huh.
Yeah, and this was a regular pit stop for him, so I think he's just trying to recover from damage. But the lead for our GTP is still very tight right now between Antti Lepisto and Laust Olsen. And Ardo Iamaki also trying to cling to the back of that. There you see a very damaged GTP. That's Fabian Jerichowski.
Recent.
Jerichowski already had incidents today and has tried to recover, so this looks like he got into more trouble.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where it started. Yeah, he just exited pit lane, so he must have taken repairs and discovered the car's not very quick, and he's actually held up John Keefe, allowing Kraytrick to go by, and Keefe almost pushes him out of the way. Fabian gets sent into the wall. I'm wondering if he should park that thing, though. It looks way off the pace. Oh, we need an onboard from Keefe. He has got to be banging on the wheel right now. Just immense frustration coming across the slow car in one of the few chicanes left in this track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so frustrating to get caught up behind a car like that. So very, very challenging for these drivers.
And you don't expect something like this either. Oh, and well, this is well before this happened at Ascari. You can see he's already causing some consternation there coming through. And here we go. Here's Keith coming into Ascari now.
Oh, absolutely frustrating. I mean, what else? What are you supposed to do in that situation if you're John? I mean, he did the safe thing and stayed behind him, but man.
Well, and to be fair, from that angle, it looked like he didn't necessarily shove him off the course. Looks like maybe he spun on his own as Keith now goes by a bit more of the lap traffic. Since we ducked away to that, Iamaki has lost touch with Lepisto a little bit, and Laust Olsen now finds only one car on his tail. There you can see the gap between them as they come into the Parabolica, and we're not missing a thing down in the GTOs where Leskala still holds 2.5 seconds.
Oh, we were having a blinker, and he actually spun across the track. Who? I believe this was... Yeah, this is Jevin Haley, who's already had other issues today, causing some problems, and actually holding up Ben Lafter and Fabian Jungbluth, who are now battling for 10th position.
Yeah, he had a spin, and I think at the same time he had some connection issues, and that made life very perilous for a few drivers. Eventually, he gets it turned around and gets rolling. Look at this, though, between Lepisto and Olsen. They don't want to give up the gap that they've made to Iamaki, but at the same time, you got to think that Lepisto is on top of that wheel, wanting to try and take the lead away when it's possible.
Absolutely. This is his opportunity to gap Iamaki behind. Iamaki's still close enough to catch the draft from these two, though. So there we're right on board with Laust. Wow, the pucker factor is definitely there for Laust Olsen today.
It always amuses me. It always seems to show up when he finds pressure happening. It just must be a nervous tick for him. But it's become a trademark here on his camera. And as he comes out of Ascari, up in front of him, Tamaz On is the next one up. They've also got Lepamaki there in the GTOs. He's going to stay off to the right-hand side. And Tamaz is not pulling off, but he shouldn't be too much of an issue, I wouldn't think. Let's see what this holds as they get up to... Oh, he lifts. Yes, good job here for Tamaz.
Yeah, absolutely. Tamaz is going to let at least Laust go. Let's see whether he lets Ante go. Ante probably could have taken a little bit more draft from Tamaz. You can see Ardo taking advantage of that now. There we go. So Tamaz finally lifting a little bit and letting these three by. This gives a good shot for Ardo, but he scrubbed off a little bit too much speed there, unfortunately.
And it has been a rough day for the GTOs, though. I'm seeing, I think, 14 of them still rolling, maybe 15. And we started with 22 of them out there today. So a lot have fallen by the wayside as we come down to the battle here between Grau and Laughter once again. Looks like they've dropped Jungbluth because of Plumley coming into the pits. This is now a battle for 8th position. And a quick mention, not far behind them, Nim Cross Jr. not doing too shabby today. Started 20th, he is up to 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. Nim's doing a great job trying to move his position forward. He's not necessarily the quickest on track. He's been passed on track a couple times, but he's staying consistent and staying out of trouble. And, you know, that's really the first step to being successful in any sort of car. So Nim doing a great job adapting to a car that, well, at least in these broadcast races, we haven't seen him in quite a few seasons.
Yeah, it's been a bit. And for those that are unaware, he's going to have to weave through traffic and picks his way past. The reason we are giving Nim a little bit of the spotlight here is he is the chief steward here at iRacing. So if there are protests, he's the man who has the final say, although he does not review all of them. He has helpers now out there in the 20 car.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, he needs it, I'm sure. 20 car carries on. I always wonder if anybody's ever actually protested Nim himself.
I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure it's happened. And I'm sure he's penalized himself at times. I mean, every driver gets to a situation where they deserve some sort of reprimand. And if you haven't, you're something like these two, Javier Del Olmo and Reed Miller, battling side by side as they head towards Curva Grande.
And they got some traffic coming up, and it is actually Nim that is approaching. Say, I really like the nickname. Somebody referred to him as the Sheriff in the chat. I think we'll have to stick with that one and see how he feels about that. As another car sliding through. Gaudin is going to leave Miller and Del Olmo alone for the time being. So the battle for second place in the GTOs rages on.
Absolutely, and the battle for the lead of the GTPs continues to rage on as well, with Laus, Anti, and Ardo still nose to tail. Anti's really trying to get there to Laus, but Laus very trimmed out. He's keeping it very clean right now as they zip past a damaged Aitor Sintes Galindo.
And let's remember that Laus Olsen's one win came at Spain, another Grand Prix track, but so incredibly different. Barcelona has so much downforce on it that I'm a bit surprised that it's here that we're seeing Laus Olsen fare so well and potentially take a second victory, but he's being held up a little bit by the traffic. They all have to tiptoe to the inside of the first Lesmo, and that mostly hurts Iamaki, who drops back, and now Sintes Galindo thinks about getting involved.
That was interesting. Oh boy, that was close from, I believe that was Oren Laskin. Oren Laskin really wanted to get to the apex there, but at some point you just got to give up the corner and let those GTPs go, especially with those three of them in a line. Ardo Iamaki, a late dive on Devin Donahue, makes it through. Oh, there you can see this battle going on between Oren Laskin and Jack David Spickett as they're trying to navigate with all of the GTP traffic going around them.
Now this is for 12th position. There goes Kurt Clapper on by. And another one, Ove Trangrade, who is currently sitting in fourth. A bit of a quiet fourth for him so far in this race. Down to the inside, side-by-side battle between Spickett and Laskin. And it's now a drag race coming down the pit straight between the pair of them. A little bit more momentum in the hands of Laskin, who holds also the inside once they get up to Curva Grande.
Might not matter though, depending on how Jack David Spickett takes this line, but you can see Jack David Spickett a little bit quicker on the shifts, gives him a little bit more speed. He's got a full car length ahead. He could turn in here if he wants to cut off Oren, and he does.
Brave but fair stuff between them, and that will keep him ahead for now. They've got to watch out for On as well as Krejcik just sneaking by. Krejcik in fifth place, and Tamaz having some issues with De La Roja. And who do we have off track here in the second Lesmo?
That was Miguel Castro making contact with Anti Lepisto. Lepisto was trying to stay on the back of Olsen going through the second Lesmo.
You just cannot relax in this series, and especially at this track, which is always so weird to me, but it makes sense, but in a sort of not intuitive way, Adam. This is always one of the most chaotic races we have, but it's got some of the longest straights in a series where the drivers tend to not want too many curves.
Yeah, absolutely, but the reason why it's always so chaotic is because you need every single mile per hour you could possibly get. There are so few turns that every exit is vital, and so you don't want to lift. And so because you don't want to lift, you don't really want to do the waiting game. You don't want to be kind or be cautious, because you want to keep all that precious miles per hour that you got coming off of the corner. And because of that, you see people who have more weird incidents of not lifting because they want to maintain that speed that they got coming off of the corner. So that's why it happens like that.
Back to our leader, as Laus Olsen has been carrying this narrow margin over Lepisto for the last few laps, and he has to do it for 8.5 more minutes. They have definitely dropped Iamaki now 2.3 seconds behind. Coming by another of our lapped cars, Koivisto, who's been in the wars today, stays off to the left hand, and finally the traffic works out well for Olsen.
Yeah, traffic working out well for Olsen. Unfortunately, Anti Lepisto is going to have to fall back. I don't believe we've had a leader aside from Laus Olsen today, Joe, so
yeah,
very good
right.
driving from Laus.
Well, and if I recall, that was the case as well at Spain, that he led every lap of that race. Up in front of them, it's Phil Lake, still sitting fifth in the GTOs. He's been trying to chase down Letaniemi in front of them, but those two have been in a bit of a stalemate there.
Yeah, he just got passed by Esco, actually, because he got pushed off track by an Audi, by a Nissan, coming through the second Lesmo. So Esco having moved just up into fourth position this lap.
Apologies on that one. So Bit of a bad moment for him, but here we go again. It is Miller and Del Olmo up through the Curva Grande and into De La Roja. I think Javier's far enough ahead, Reed is far enough ahead that Javier can't do much to him for that one. And maybe Arribas, who has a scary little off coming out of De La Roja. Thankfully does not hit the wall, but certainly caught a lot of the gravel there.
Absolutely, and they're all about to be approached by our leaders in the GTPs soon, and they'll probably happen through Parabolica, if I had to guess, with these guys. As we take a look back at them, Artu Iamaki has managed, due to the traffic, to be able to get to the back of these guys once again. It's really going to come down to how the traffic plays out on the final couple of laps, Joe, to determine who wins this thing. But Laust has been very stout on being able to navigate the traffic. How is he going to do coming out of Ascari? Should be clean to pass these guys before they reach the Parabolica.
And I don't think Laust Olsen is necessarily out of the hunt in the championship himself. He's 29 points back. It's a long ways, but including today, it's 4 rounds left. So that is still 100 points worth that are on the table for all wins that if he's able to put that down. Now, that's a tall ask, but again, nobody's been able to dominate up to this point. And he'd be only the second driver, I believe, to get more than 1 win this season if he stays put. But Lepisto, still looking for victory number 1 here in 2022, has got to be hungry. And you're right, when it comes to traffic on that last lap, he's gonna make aggressive moves. You have to bank on it. Yeah,
so Lepisto needs about to cut the distance in half that he had on Laust Olsen coming out of the Parabolica this last time in order to be able to be an opportunity to make that draft pass on Olsen. Olsen has such good top line speed that Lepisto's going to need every inch that he can get on Olsen in order to make that pass. Here they go past Jerky Lepamaki as they go by. This is going to separate Lepisto a little bit, give an opportunity to Iamaki. He has a run. The question is, does he want to take it into Ascari? I don't think he's going to have the opportunity.
Well, I don't know if he wants to take it quite yet. I feel like he'll have better chances if he sits and stays close behind him. Stay patient enough, and traffic should offer you something. They go past Arribas now, who stays off the left-hand side, nicely down to the 49, allowing all of them through. That separates them temporarily as well, but onto the front stretch, look at how much Laust is trying to carry his speed up and around the outside edge of Parabolica. And the 12 does keep himself at least at arm's length away from the Finn, but he's going to be able to pull him in a bit.
Absolutely, this is a good run. Is Lepisto going to try and take it this time around? It looks like he's going to try and go on the outside. They should be able to go flat through Parabolica this time around. Laust Olsen has the inside, so a little bit of an edge, but both of them right on the edge of grip as they go on the outside of the Parabolica. Who's got the braveness on the brakes? It's Laust Olsen.
Can he get it turned in? Yes, he does. He looks like he's very hot into the corner, but smooth as you like. He hits both apexes. And what a defense from Laust Olsen. I thought for sure that Lepisto had his best opportunity to finally lead the way in this race, but this is going to be a tough one. If he even has the inside into a chicane and he can't manage to take it.
Absolutely, Lepisto, that was his best opportunity he's had so far, but now he's in Laust's head. You can see Laust pushing even harder than he has been. These guys at the lead of the GTP field absolutely pressing very hard. Artu Iamaki, though, has been fairly measured and has not been pushing super hard right now, so he continues to wait as we go under 4 minutes to go.
And in fact, I believe, as Iamaki takes a little bit of a look, nothing serious on Lepisto. That's the last thing that Ante wants right here, because he wants to keep touch with Olsen as they cross the line. 3 laps to go this time by.
Lepisto has another good run, but Laust Olsen breaking the draft just a little bit. They're going to come up upon lap traffic up ahead. 2 cars of their own class. Gianluca Gabbiani and Doug Cloud that they're going to have to pass. So this is going to be a real challenge for these drivers. Lepisto and Iamaki right nose to tail with Laust Olsen. This is going to be intense.
He's looking again. Could he figure out how to outbrake him this time? No, he's going to fall back on it. So up in front, Gabbiani just going around Tupola. Mika should be able to stay out of the way here. Hopefully, might be a little bit of consternation there for Iamaki, and he is. He has to sneak inside. Compromised line, that hurts the orange car. Now comes Lepisto, once again on the attack with Olsen. They're still creeping forward on Gabbiani. Hopefully, Gianluca is aware of what's happening and the Italian can get out of the way.
He will be able to. They're going to catch him coming out of Ascari, so this is going to be a good opportunity for Gianluca to move over if he sees what's going on behind him. But what he's doing right now is giving a draft to Laust Olsen, and that allows Lepisto, that forces Lepisto to have to draft up behind Gabbiani. Gabbiani not backing off this time around. This is actually going to be a benefit to Laust as they come off of the corner, unless Gabbiani goes wide like he did. This is going to hold Laust Olsen to the short run. This gives Lepisto a good opportunity now with the draft. Laust is going to pull in front of Gabbiani, cutting the draft off from Lepisto and pick up a draft from Spigot.
Now down to 2 laps to go, and this has allowed Gabbiani to pull a bit of a slipstream, and that speeds up his lap somewhat as wow. They go around the outside of Laskin, who thankfully is able to stay out of the way. There's a little look from Iamaki, nothing doing. Interesting stat about Gabbiani. He is the only Italian driver we have left in this race. All the others have DNF'd.
Wow, Lepisto took a look into Lesmo 1. That's not a usual place where you see someone take a look. Now this is going to hold up Laust Olsen coming off of Lesmo 2. You can see just how close Lepisto's getting. Here's a good opportunity. Does Lepisto want to try a move into Ascari? This is not usually a place that works for a pass, but we've seen it done in F1 before. Laust is going to take the inside.
I think he's going to box him in. Yep, he's got to box him in and stays to the outside.
This compromises his exit, though.
Yeah. Think he could get a good run. No, great exit from Olsen will prevent him from doing anything, but Doug Cloud is the next one up.
Absolutely, and they're absolutely drafting Doug Cloud. Arno's drafting. Oh, look at this. Lepisto a little bit late on the brakes means he had to take a look to the inside, and Doug's going to hold up Laust Olsen. This is Lepisto's best shot.
It's closer than he's been before, and it's a white flag lap now. Does he try and get it here? Does he wait till later? This seems like a good opportunity for me. And indeed, he's once again going to be on the inside for De La Rosa, but this will be the outside into Curva Grande, where we see Laust Olsen start to come back forward on him.
They got
Don't
traffic.
forget about Iamaki as well. And they're going to have to stay on the side. Oh, no, they come together. They come together, and that's going to send Olsen into a horrible tumble while Iamaki carries on with the lead.
Laust Olsen didn't want to get boxed in behind the Audi and took the risk of taking the left-hand turn to try and go around the outside. Ends up making contact with Lepisto, and that sends them both off. Ardo Iamaki inherits the lead.
Unbelievable. Lepisto still running in third. They have run such pace, and Martin Krajcik is trying to run him down. I'm not sure if he's damaged enough that he'll lose that podium. In fact, he is limping as you see him there. So that means Krajcik with a surprise podium today on the cards for him. Unbelievable finish here. And Iamaki somehow, who wasn't leading this whole way, is going to take the win and his 4th of the season, extending his points lead. The number 6 takes the victory here in Italy.
Nico Leskola about 8 seconds up ahead of our second place battle in the GTOs, which is still hot and heavy between Reed Miller and Javier Del Olmo. They got Nimcross Jr. tucked in behind them, who's trying not to become part of this battle. It's very close between Reed and Javier.
Yes, and they've got half a lap left to go. Here's a great run. Reed Miller's under threat. Del Olmo down to the inside, behind them waiting patiently. That's actually Nimcross right there. He doesn't want to interrupt this one. He's got nobody that he's fighting with. He backs off, lets them try to sort it out. Down into Ascari, deep out of the brakes. Del Olmo is able to get ahead.
And here they go back onto the next long straight. They're going to have, this is Reed Miller's last opportunity on Javier Del Olmo. But as I say that, we need to go to Yuko Leskola, who's pulling out of the Parabolica now.
Another victory for Yuko Leskola, making it more and more certain that he will be the champion this season. The number 2 wins, as behind him, who's it going to be? Del Olmo barely ahead, down to the line. Javier Del Olmo second, Reed Miller in third.
And Ben Lafter ran out of fuel on the final lap as trying to crawl across the line at 27 miles per hour, trying to bump it on the starter. Unfortunately, that's going to put him in 15th.
Oh, unfortunate there for him. Flashes his lights just as a small celebration. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
What a finish, and that was all set up by an incident here at the end of the race at Autodromo Nazionale Monza. And here it was, coming up to lap traffic, choosing the left-hand side of Miguel Castro. Antti Lepisto unfortunately did not know, or excuse me, Laus Olsen did not know that Antti Lepisto was there, and the ensuing wreck was massive, allowing Artu Iamaki to wind up your victor. And Laust apologized profusely over the radio for what happened. Honestly, to me, that was a little bit of a racing deal. He had to make a split-second decision in a battle for the lead, and sometimes those things happen. But let's take a look at the results, and it was Artu Iamaki winning today as Ove Trangerade. A quiet second place was followed by Martin Krejcik, who finished third. John Keefe, who was involved in the very first lap accident into the De La Rocha chicane, finished fourth as Farron Grau was P5. Antti Lepisto limped it home to sixth after that huge shunt into the wall, and Fabian Jungbluth was seventh, Javier Mosquera P8. Then it's Bert Olsen in ninth, followed by Emerson Gaudin in 10th. Robert Plumley, P11 for him. Nim Cross from 20th up to 12th. Nice run for him. Romain Belorgi was P13, and our pole sitter, Laust Olsen, unfortunately, did manage to get home, but he was 14th in the end. Ben Lafter was P15, last on the lead lap. Cam Porter, first one lap down in 16th. Randy Huff in 17th, and Doug Cloud 18th. Jean-Luc Gabbiani, the only Italian at his home track today to be able to finish this race, 19th position. Heitor Sintes Galindo 20th. Then you've got Ribas, Clapper, Tamaz, and Haley finishing the race, but everyone in the GTPs from there not seeing the checkered flag.
For the GTOs, Yuko Leskola took home the win today quite handily, over 8 seconds ahead of the battle for second between Javier Del Olmo and Reed Miller. Javier taking the position over Reed with a nice hold on the inside through the parabolic on the final lap. Then we have Escoleta Nami, who came home in the 4th position after falling off the back early on in the race. Then we got Hideki Koivisto coming home in 5th spot, with Pablo Rangel in 6th. Tomas Bartfai in 7th position was able to pit Phil Blake late on in the race, who comes home in the 8th spot after having a couple incidents with some GTPs. Andre Schumacher, after starting in 2nd, falls all the way back to 9th position this race, with Miguel Castro finishing in 10th spot. Devin Donahue in 11th. Oren Laskin in 12th position after having a hard fight with himself and Jack David Spickett, who finished in 13th. Jerky Lepamaki finishes in 14th position, and then Mika Tupula 2 laps down in 15th, and everyone else after that either did not finish the race or had significant issues over the course of the race.
Well, one driver that had issues but still managed a good finish was John Keefe, from 9th to 4th for him. Well, let's see what he thinks of how that went for him, starting, of course, with the beginning. John, a top 5 out there, but it started a little rough. You had a little bit of contact that caused a schmozzle, it seemed.
Yeah, that's the first thing I want to apologize for there. Everyone expects there to be like a big, pack up going into that corner, and everyone seemed to leave enough room, and then it just all kind of squeezed together a little bit tighter than I was expecting. So I totally own that incident there. I don't know who that was. I forgot to go back and look, but I do apologize for that.
Yeah, that caught a couple drivers out, but there was plenty of more chaos for everybody else to have to deal with throughout the rest of the race. Yours looked pretty exciting at times, including with back markers at one point through Ascari. What was going on in your head as that happened?
Well, I saw the amount of damage that car had, and I just figured he was going to leave, a lane open, and then he just didn't. And I didn't mean to tag him when we got through back onto the straightaway, but I was just trying to get going because Martin already, obviously took advantage there, as he should have. But yeah, I was a little confused by that one.
Well, somehow the track with some of the least amount of corners always seems to give us the most chaotic races traffic-wise. How did it feel overall for you, especially considering you did manage at 4th place out of it, which is not shabby?
Yeah, and that's another thing I wanted to say. I didn't even realize that Martin and I were fighting for the podium there. The last I looked at F3 in position, I was P6. And I just figured that was it, and then we came across the line, and I saw we were actually going for a podium there. I would have given it a little bit more if I knew that going into the last 2 sections anyway.
Well, sometimes it's a coulda, woulda, shoulda thing. Congratulations on the top 5. Anybody you want to shout out?
Just all the Kamel guys. Martin for spectacular battle today, pretty much throughout the race, and you guys for everything you do.
Well, thank you very much. That was John Keefe finishing 4th today. Not quite as good, though. At times he was as high as that. Phil Lake finished 8th. He is with Adam.
Yeah, Phil, it seemed like you're right there in the fight for the lead of the race. And then there's that checkup moment that happened into De La Roja about a third of the way into the race that gave you some front left damage. And it seemed like the car was a little hard to drive after that. Talk to me about your race.
Yeah, that didn't go to plan. But I managed to, obviously a horrible qualifying, managed to get onto the lead group, and then then once the Nissan started to come through, it was really hard to judge what they were going to do. And then when they go for the inside into a slow corner like that, they practically come to a stop in front of you. So that happened, and then I think I got hit. I hit Andre, I think, and I got hit from behind, so I had a bit of damage. From then on, I was just looking forward to the fight with Esco at the end, and then I got tagged by a GTP, gave me a 4X and put me over the instant limit.
Just heartbreak for you, Phil, and it was a good race throughout, though. You had some decent pace out there. Talk to me about this track, though. It's such a unique scenario around here to have a draft track like this. The only other time we see something like this is Le Mans. And so how different is it racing around this track versus most of the tracks we do during the year?
Yeah, it's a different strategy, a different mindset, because you don't need to pass anybody, or perhaps more accurately, you can pass someone whenever you want. So because that option is always there, you don't want to just end up in the endless lap after lap swapping positions with somebody. So you're all just kind of sitting in line and trying to keep up with that, trying to be in that lead group. That's the most important thing. And I think the problem, or one of the problems with this track is when the GTPs come through, if they make any kind of mistake or a bad decision, or like happened today, there was a spin in Ascari as well, which cost the group I was in time compared to the lead group. And then as soon as that gap's broken, it was 4 seconds, I think. You're never ever going to get that back.
Yeah, it's a really challenging place to drive for sure, and all that strategy and teamwork and presence of mind with the other classes makes it a real challenge. But now I'm going to ask you a question that seems to be fairly divisive among the Kamel community. What are your thoughts heading into next round at Snetterton?
Yeah, I think I might be the one person on iRacing that likes Snetterton, so I'm looking forward to it. I might switch back to the GTP again. I don't know. I'll probably try both and see which one's the most fun. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. And I think we're doing the 200 layout, which is a really pretty straightforward layout. So I wouldn't expect to see too much traffic problems, but we'll see.
Well, look forward to seeing you there next week, and look forward to going there with the Kamel community as well. But thanks for talking to us, Phil.
Yep, thanks, guys.
That was Phil Lake, who finished in 8th position after having a penalty on the final lap.
That's going to round out our interviews. So, of course, before we go, we want to thank our sponsor once again, the Majors Garage. You can find them through our link in the description below, and make sure when you go there to use Majors GSRC to get 10% off. Also, big thank you to the Kamel community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because, as we said, next race is going to be Snetterton. That's another wild one, just a very short lap in these cars. Saturday, February 19th at noon Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out. Mark them down on your calendar, including, in just a few minutes, the Majors Team Endurance Challenge is off to Watkins Glen for the penultimate round. That'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.